Hello, guys, and welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. Ray isn't with us, but as usual, I have got Yas, and to fill Ray's shoes, I think we've done an excellent job of it, if I say so myself. We've got Southern Area champion Jack Hughes with us. Jack, how are you doing, mate?
Good, mate. How are you doing?
Not too bad. A pleasure to have you on, so thank you for coming back, especially in this sort of live format that we're trialing.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Go for it, Yas.
Yeah, just to get started, really, like Josh said there, thank you for coming on, Jack. Obviously, we know you're obviously in quite a busy schedule, with the upcoming fight. And obviously, just to give the viewers a little bit of background about yourself, Jack is the current super flyweight Southern Area champion. And he's been on the channel before. And, he had the draw against Paul Roberts at York Hall for the vacant Southern Area title, and then he was able to get the rematch and win the titles. And now he is obviously going to fight again at York Hall at some point in November. Thank you for coming on, Jack.
No worries, mate. Thank you for having me.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, yes. Have you got your questions?
Yeah, just my first initial question would be, obviously, we know, obviously, you started out your journey in boxing to, win a title, and you wanted to become a Southern Area champion. So now that you've achieved that goal, how does it feel, to have achieved what you set out to achieve?
Oh, mate, it was an amazing feeling, man. Because obviously, as you said, it was my lifelong dream, and it was 6 years of hard graft of being a professional. Like, it fell through on me 5 times, and I fought for it 3 times. And there was moments where it just felt like it was never going to happen. But in the bittersweet end, we got there and we did it. And it was a very emotional moment for me.
Evening, Davey. Pleasure to have you, mate. Get your questions in for Jack. He's an open book, so this should make for a great interview. Jack, just for those who haven't sort of followed too much of your story or may know bits, just talk us through your last fight, because you alluded to it briefly there in terms of the fall throughs and stuff, and the background with Ricky Little. We know all that now. Obviously, Paul Roberts, who you beat for the title, you drew with him last time out before that, but just talk us through that, particularly the fight where you won it, because everyone will have seen the thumbnail watching this. It was a brutal fight and a war, but you came out on top, and hats off to you. But just give the guys a bit of the background on it.
Yeah, like the camp itself was very strange. I call it like my best worst ever camp, because it was the best because everything went according to plan, and it was the worst because mentally I just wasn't there. The whole camp, like I kept telling my fiance that I was like, this is going to be my last fight. I don't even want to fight. I don't even want to do it. Every time I was waking up, and in my head I was like, oh, I'm going to lose. It was just a very weird mental state to be in. And I remember waking up on the night and I was like, yeah, it's not going to go my way tonight. Like, this is like the mental state I was in throughout the whole camp, which is just a shocking mental state to be fighting in. And then it was only until when I got to York Hall, I just really started to relax. And then when I was hitting the pads, I was like, oh, like I feel all right. Like, it may be different to what I was thinking. And then when I got in there, I felt very, very comfortable for the first couple rounds. And then most people probably haven't been in a 10-round fight, but it's when you get to like rounds 5, 6, and 7, it's a very hard place to be, because you start to get tired. Your mind starts to, it becomes as well as a physical battle, it becomes a mental battle, and there's not many people that can get through that mental stage. A lot of people start to crumble. But I consider myself, even though I put myself in a bad mental state, I consider myself to be quite a mentally strong person. And when my mind tells me to quit, my body will just keep going. And I've got that very weird mentality in me where I would rather die than ever quit. And I've always hung on to that quite proudly. And when obviously I was cut over my left eye in the 6th or 7th, and I had blood going into that eye. And then I got hit with an uppercut on the right side of my face, and I went blind in my right eye. So then from round 8, I was literally couldn't see out of both eyes. And then I went back to my corner, and I said to Tony, who was doing my cut, in quite like a panic state, I was like, Tony, I can't see out of my right eye. I've gone blind. And he thought I was talking about my left eye because I had blood in it. And he was like, mate, don't worry. It's just where the blood's going into your eye. And that kind of relaxed me. I was like, oh, if Tony saying I'm all right, then I must be all right. And so I just went out and fought blind for 3 rounds. And then when I was in the changing room, not the changing room, the doctor's bit, getting like stitched up and stuff, he told me that my right pupil isn't dilating properly, like it was like larger than the other one. And then after in the change room with Kieran, when I announced my retirement, he pulled me to the side and said, "You've made a good decision, because sometimes when the pupil doesn't dilate properly, it can be like early signs of like brain trauma and stuff." So yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster ride, that last fight.
Wow. I mean, this is I love that sort of insight that you're giving us there, Jack. I mean, Davey, boxing historian, he's a regular on the channel. He just obviously that never showed at all. It was a great back and forward watch. And he's also asked a good question, which sort of leads me on to what I was going to ask you, obviously, anyway. He's watched the title fight tonight. Cheers for doing that, Davey. Also, I'll drop Jack's social media in the description. So let's all make sure we give Jack a follow if you don't already. But, Davey's asking what next now. For those that do follow you, will know. But for those that don't, Jack, can you just sort of let everyone in on what's next?
Yeah, well, I've got a fight coming up on November the 12th, and that is going to be my last fight for the many reasons. Some that I just touched on, like how hard the last. Well, I touched on it a little bit, but I didn't really like stress to a lot of people how hard the last camp was mentally and physically for me. Like a lot of people that I was around, like my coaches, Kieran and Tony, they were saying like it was just a completely different side of me that they never seen. Like I wasn't joyful and happy like I always am, and I was quite miserable, to tell you the truth, during the whole build up. And people around me were saying that they could see how miserable I was, and they could see how much I wasn't enjoying it. And the last year since kind of boxing was allowed to come back, it's been quite a very stressful time for me. Like I think in the build up to 3 fights, I had like 5 or 6 people die on me. And yeah, it was just a hard time. And because of all that stress, I just think it was the right time for me to just call it a day. But I've got my last fight, and it's more of like a closure thing for me. So I know it's the last one, and for my fans, for people to come and watch, knowing, like this is the last time we'll ever see Jack in a boxing ring again. So it's kind of like a little closure thing for me. And yeah, so that, and for what's next after that is I'm actually going to go into coaching. I've got a gym down in Amersham. A lot of people might know him, called Andy Gill. He's boxes out of Evolve Elite, and he trains people like Jamie Smith, the Frimpong twins, his son Pat Gill, and Brandon Webb. I think I've got them all there. If I've missed anyone, sorry lads. But yeah, I'm helping them, and they've got like Southern area champions with Jamie Smith, who won it on the same night as me. And they've got a lot of future champions that will be made soon. And yeah, I'm going to be a part of that gym, which is quite I'm excited about it.
No, that's great news, Jack. And to be fair, I think it's always great. I mean, sort of relating a little bit to what Davey said here, but I think it's great when people of yourselves, and like you said, whether you want to call it that sort of grit, determination, or warrior spirit, in terms of when you said like when your mind is telling you you've had enough, but the body keeps going. I think, for any aspiring boxers out there, not that you can really be taught that sort of will, but my God, they'll benefit from hearing you speak and teach. And so that's great news. I mean, again, Davey, the first half of the comments a little bit scary, I suppose. Yes, I never bleed on the brain, he's pinned pupils. Opiates and bleed in the brain are the only 2 things that apparently can be pinned eyes. But this is the important bit, or the positive bit, and I think it's great. You are a great example to the casuals that think boxing's a bit of a game. And obviously, we'll get on to the topic of YouTube boxing a little bit later on. But we've had another question in. Joel Phillip, what's the hardest part of a training camp?
Well, there's quite a lot, mate, because, you know, a lot of people don't understand. They go to the fight and they see, however, if there's the 4 rounds, 6 rounds, and 10 rounds, and they kind of think that's all you do. And as much as you kind of explain it to people, they still don't understand. Like, training camp is crazy, especially for people at the lower end of the scale. Like for people like Joshua and so on, I don't want to say it's easy because it's not, but they get the benefit of having the big promoter, so they don't have to sell the tickets. They don't have to work. They can just go to the gym, go home and rest, and then they get all the top nutritionists. They get all the top, like physios, masseuses, like, and all this stuff helping them out. Where people like me at the bottom, I've got to go to work an 8-hour shift. I've got to come back, get changed, travel 2 hours to my gym, do an hour at my gym, come home, make sure my diet's on point. I've got to message people and ask if they want to buy tickets. I've then got to run around dropping tickets off to people. I've got to make sure I get my runs in, and then I've got to make sure I sleep. And then, I get up and I've got to repeat the system like over and over again. And like for me, even though I did it easily, losing weight was just a drag at times because, I walk around much heavier than I fight at, which again that's kind of my problem. That's because I'm just a pig outside. But like I walk around at 65 kilo and fight at 52. So I'm looking at like a 13 kilo weight loss. And as I said, I do it easily, but it's just stress on the body because I am a little fat kid. Like I want to eat, and when I can't eat, it then makes me miserable, and it makes me not very not a nice person to be around. And then it makes me angry and like so on, and just that's just not a fun part for me. But also selling tickets is another massive stress. Like for me, they're the two biggest stresses in small hall boxing because a lot of people might not know, but if you do a 4-round fight, I think it's slightly changed because obviously the price of the tickets has gone up. But when I first started, when I was doing a 4-round fight, you have to sell 60 tickets. So if you don't sell 60 tickets, you can't fight. And out of the 60 tickets you sell, you don't earn a single penny out of them 60 tickets. So, 60 tickets is a lot of tickets to sell. And so if you're running around training, as I just mentioned, training, working, losing weight, and you've still got to sell these tickets, it's a massive, massive stress on you. And it's a stress that you don't really need. And, people will tell you that they're coming, but they'll pull out and they'll leave it to the last minute. They're like, oh, yeah, I'll get my ticket like 2 days before the fight or 3 days before the fight. So you're looking at the numbers, you're looking at the tickets. Like, am I going to make it? Am I not going to make it? Am I going to be able to fight? Is this person going to pull out last minute? Is this person going to come in last minute and save me? And so on and so forth. And it just becomes an absolute nightmare. So, yeah, the two hardest parts would be losing weight and selling tickets.
I've got one question there, and as you might have guessed, like you've just said, like my food. So what is Jack Hughes' go-to meal? You've made weight, you've got the fight done, you're celebrating a title win. What is that meal?
There's 2 meals that I normally have. It's normally chicken pizza from Pizza Hut or a McDonald's. So whatever's open at that time is the go-to meal.
I was gonna, I suppose, because obviously, headlining the event, you're pretty late after the fight, aren't you? Bloody hell! No, Davey, he's come back with some more comments here, and I like this, and I agree with this as well, Davey. This is why YouTubers do my head in, Jack. They're rich boys that he further put in buy into the pay-per-view events. It's disgusting and insulting to lads like yourself. I have to admit, we have said this on this channel before, and that is the biggest thing. YouTuber boxing gets talked about as it brings fresh eyes. And the question that we've always asked back to that is, it does, but do they stay? Does a fan who's just watched a KSI fight then get involved to such a level where they're following guys like yourself who are, real boxers? And I don't want to say that from a snobby perspective or, I appreciate the likes of a KSI, Jake Paul. They clearly are training because they are improving. But as you've so rightly put, that they're not they have all the nutrition, they have access to the best coaches, and they have 24 hours a day to really sort of work on their craft, which, you know, fighters like yourself aren't gifted with. He's coming, yeah. I mean, it'd be great if we could get this shout out to Pizza Hut. Give the man a free pizza. There we go. It'd be ideal if we could get that, Davey. When you sort our trophy out that you promised us last week, you can sort Jack's pizza out too. Joel Phillips come back. Wow, that's a major stress, buddy, to work an 8-hour job and go and do such a high level of intense training. It takes a lot of commitment and passion, enough respect.
Thanks, mate.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
Go on, yes.
Yeah, no, I can't finish. I'll ask my question after. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just going to say, obviously you've talked about the health side there, which obviously, you know, as hard as it must be, health obviously does have to be the number one. Obviously you've got a missus and a family and whatnot, so I understand that. But at 30 years old, I've got to ask, you sort of, at the minute, potentially going out on a high. You know, you've won the title, you're sort of going to have one more for closure. Was there any temptation there at all to think, I'll have one more? You know, like go for more titles and...
Like, there is a part of me that knows, well, that I definitely know I can achieve more if I want to. Like, I could definitely win an English, and I think I could definitely win a Commonwealth, and probably could even beat a British if I really put my knuckle down and put myself up to it. But like, just the way I've felt in the last couple camps, it's just I just know that it's the right time. And even now when I'm training, like, I'm just training, I'm just not enjoying it. And I just know it's the right time. And I think that's what a lot of people, they always get out at the wrong time. And I feel like, because I know I'm getting out at the right time, I just know I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm not loving it like I used to. I don't enjoy the training anymore. I don't enjoy the sparring. I just don't enjoy the whole of camp, which is what I love. And when you used to love something so much and that now you just can't even basically stand to be around it, it's just the right time. And I won't look back on any regret, because I achieved everything. I mean, I overachieved really in a lot of people's eyes. So, you know, I can always leave with my head held high. And when I'm on my deathbed, I won't have any regrets when it comes to boxing, because I kind of did it all, you know. So yeah, there's just no temptation for me to go on.
No, 100%. I respect that as well. Sort of, you know, Carl Froch did it, didn't he? Went out on the crest of his wave, if you like. But, you know, the fact that, I mean, he retired 7-8 years ago, as you say, I think it's quite rare that, you know, fighters do that. So massive respect to you for acknowledging it and doing something about it, mate.
Yeah, massive respect to you, Jack, because, you know, we've seen it time and time again where fighters, they're the last ones to admit that, you know, their hungers, they don't really want to do it. They don't feel the same no more. And, you know, you've been able to acknowledge that, and you're not shy to put it out there that, look, I'm not quite, you know, trying to do this anymore. So big respect to you for that. My question was probably for you. My next question for you would be, so obviously we know the importance of having a good and supportive team around you. And obviously we know you've had your setbacks in your career, i.e. the draw with Paul Roberts. How would you say, like, how much of a pivotal role would you say, like, your team has played in the comeback to win the Southern Area title?
Mate, my coach, Kieran Duffy, is one of the top coaches you'll ever meet in boxing. And I only met him during lockdown, and it was kind of a coincidence thing that we even ended up crossing paths. And I truly believe without him, like, if I never met him, I don't think I would have ever won the Southern Area. I don't think I would have even been half the boxer I was. I probably would have lost to Raymond Comey when I fought him. Like, he just took me on like leaps and bounds to what I ever thought I would be. And obviously my other coach, Tony, he's just been like, they're just amazing people to have around you. Like, Kieran's, it's so weird. Like, he knows me better than my mum and my missus know me. Like, I'll walk into the gym and I'll just say hello to him and I'll go upstairs and get changed. And whilst I'm gone, he'll be speaking to my missus and be like, what's wrong with him? I can tell he's not himself right now. And like, that's how well he knows his fighters. Just from me walking in saying hello, I'm going to get changed. He knows if I'm having a good day and he knows if I'm having a bad day. And like, a lot of my bad days, he kept my mind like on path, when, you know, if I would have had someone else that wouldn't have noticed I was having a bad day, it would have just steered off, because I don't like to, if I'm having a bad day, I just keep it to myself, because I don't want to put my negative energy on other people. And if I'm having a good day, then I like to share my energy, because it's positive energy. And like, so he always knows, and then he'll always pull me to the side and talk to me, and you know, as I said, keep my mind straight. And the things he taught me when I was coming through, like there were so many little things, and I was thinking how in like 6, 7, 8 years of me being involved in boxing has no one ever taught me this. And it was just such simple little things. And you know, he's got me, and he took me to championship level, and he's got Razor Ali now as well. And Razor Ali's going to be I think Razor Ali's going to go to the top, so obviously keep an eye on him. And this is all because of work that Kieran's done with both of us. So like, you know, I could never really, for me just saying it now, it just doesn't do credit to how good Kieran really is. I believe that he can be a top coach in boxing, and I just hope that one day he gets the credit that he deserves. And obviously same goes for Tony Pill as well, because he's one of the nicest men I've ever met in my life, let alone boxing. So without them two men, I would be nothing, mate.
No, I mean, it's great to hear of sort of the positive relationship that obviously you have with your coach, and obviously it's good that he's had such sort of a profound impact on you. So we'll move this on slightly, if that's all right with you, Jack. Obviously we're up to date with you, so guys, as I said, I'll drop Jack's social links in the description, so everybody get behind him. I'll drop his fight details as well. It's Build the Last Dance, that'll be in there, so if any people want tickets and whatnot, you can get in touch and get those sorted. Davies sounds like you learned a lot from Kieran, and you could follow as well. And I think, in fairness, Jack, that's actually a great point. Obviously, you talked about going into coaching, and hearing you talk, you clearly got a lot to sort of pass on, whether it be, you know, knowledge, and also I read your social media posts as well. And I think you'd be a good mentor for the mental side of young fighters, because you've been there and done it, and you, as you say yourself, you're an open book on that respect. So I'm excited to see, Kieran's future and your own. But we'll move this on slightly. So guys, get involved in the comment section if you're there. We're going to talk to Jack now about the current boxing scene. Now, obviously, I think we'll have to start with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Fury's come out this evening and said sort of he's done with the Joshua fight. I mean, we're just fans, Jack. You know a bit more of the inner workings of what goes into making a fight and whatnot. But from a fan's perspective, a deal like that with different sponsorship and whatnot, it's going to take time to do. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on this fight? And is Fury being, to be honest, a bit of a dick by putting such a deadline on it and then pulling the plug?
Yeah, like the deadline thing is a bit weird. As you just said, there's a lot that goes into making a fight. So I don't really see how he can put such a short deadline on it. But for me, I just don't know. Like, for me, I just think that fight's just dead in the water now. Like, since he lost to Usyk again, I just don't really see the point in that fight happening. For me, I think a better fight for AJ would be the Dylan White rematch, but they're both coming off a loss. Like, they've got history. I just think it's so much better, because I just believe that Tyson Fury just wipes the floor with AJ. And then it's kind of like a bit, well, I say it's a bit like, where does he go from there? But the Dylan White fight's always going to be there for him. But for me, I just think that should be the way that he should go. And the way that Fury should go should be Usyk and try and unify the division. But it's just silly, mate. Like, I've said this before now, like, boxing's got to a really bad state. In my opinion, it's the worst state boxing's ever been in. And like, it becomes quite kind of like, I say this a lot, it's more like WWE than people like to admit. It's all like a big show now. Like, everything's a show. Like, for instance, if I just talked about the Conor Benn and the Eubank fight, all this stuff, it's all a show, yeah? Like, and if anyone believes that it's not, you're very, very silly. Like, if you believe that Chris Eubank's eating KFC, like, day in, day out, you're very silly. If you believe he's not training, you're very silly. If you believe his dad's not there with him day in, day out, you're very silly. Like, it's all just a show, and it's all just to raise publicity. And I just don't understand how boxing's kind of got to this point. I think it is mainly because of the YouTube thing now. But I just miss the days where it was just you get a fight signed and you fight. Like, now it's like, this has got to happen, and we've got to do this, and we've got to have like fireworks going off in the background, and it's all just like, mate, I just want to see the fight. That's all I want to see. And yeah, it's just silly but yeah, I mean, it would be good for the British public if that fight can happen, because it probably will be one of the biggest fights in British history. But for me, it's just a dead in the water fight.
No, I reluctantly, I'd love to try and argue and say you're wrong, but it's funny you mentioned the WWE thing, because I've literally had that same conversation a couple of weeks ago with somebody at work, and it got to the point where I was trying to argue it, and in the end I had to be like, yeah, I can sort of see your point. Negotiations are getting longer and longer, and the whole thing's just getting dragged out. I mean, there's you've had a couple of comments come in. Jack Newham, tell Jack to go to bed. He's got a busy day at work tomorrow. From his gang of bin men team, way up, chin up, my brother.
Hey, I work with Jack. He's another boxer as well, signed by Goodwin. He's fighting on the same show as me, but he's also like my boss. We work on the bins together. So yeah, he's right though. I should be in bed, but forget that. I'll worry about that in the morning.
That's it. Yeah, Joel, spot on. The show side is boring, and the fights make the better stories. I totally agree. And I believe this is your better half, is it not, Jack?
Yeah, she's put like shrimps there because Jack Newham likes to call everyone a shrimp, so she's just.
There we go. So, I mean, just on that, I mean, Fury now, it looks like his fight, although his sort of brother half leaked it last week, he'll be fighting Mahmoud Shah, who's fought twice, I believe, since 2017. As a fan, I'm not excited about that. Jack, can you sort of do anything to raise my spirits on that fight if it happens?
No, not really, mate. This is another thing that I've been talking about, why boxing's just dead in the water now. Like, we never get fights that we want, and even if we don't want them, we never get good like 50-50 fights. It's always like 80% that the home fighter is going to win and 20% to the away fighter. And if they do win, it ends up just being like an absolute like complete shock that no one like. I just don't get why boxing's like this anymore. Like that. I just don't know, mate. It kind of makes me kind of sad when I think about it. But it's just like, why is that fight happening? Like, Fury's going to win it, and the undercard will probably be full of 80-20% fights. Like, and it becomes boring. Like, do you know, like the Chris Eubank fight, for instance? I know everyone who's going to win on that card before it's even been announced. Like, so what is there to get excited about nowadays with boxing? Because every show's like that now, and it just becomes boring. That's why I think like small hall boxing is where it's at if you're a big fan, because there's none of this silly like dancing about, and this has got to happen with a contract, that's got to happen with a contract, we've got to put on this show and this show like before the fight happens. Like, it's just two fighters, they sign the deal, they get in the ring, they're 9 out of 10 times 50-50 fights, and 9 out of 10 times like the southern area, the English and stuff, it are world title fights. And we just leave everything in the ring and put everything on the line. So, like, I would strongly say if there's any, like, casual boxing fans in here that only watch the big fights on TV, go down to a small hall fight at York Hall when you've got, like, 2 or 3 title fights on the bill. And I guarantee you're going to get your money's worth than the £20 that you spend on pay-per-view. I'd bet my life on it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, go on, yes.
Yeah, go on, ask your question. I'm going to ask him on another topic. So,
no, I was just going to say I agree, Jack. To be fair, I think particularly since we started doing this channel, you can't help but become more aware of small horse shows and different fighters like yourself. I mean, this is your I think 4th time now of coming on, and I've got to be honest, the boxers that we get on give a really great insight into the world, which is fans. That's ultimately what we want. But, also when you see the shows and you see the fights, there's a lot more a realness, I want to say, but whether that's the fairest word or what, I don't know. But no, I definitely agree. Tej, also, small hall shows are so much better than the bigger venues. And again, I would agree with that because, I think you noticed it, particularly in lockdown, you could hear the punches land, obviously, with there being no fans and stuff. And I think back to, myself, I went to Joshua Parker at the Millennium Stadium, or Principality, whatever it's called now. And I've got to be fair, you were even being halfway back, which, weren't the cheapest seats in the world, they weren't the most expensive, don't get me wrong. But by the time the main event came, I was watching it on the screen anyway, because your eyes are gone from still trying to squint to the boxing ring. So, no, I definitely echo what Jack's saying there, guys. And let's get down. Kerry Hughes is also echoing this. So a lot of love for the small horse. Davey's back. Best events have been small horse shows. Went to Khan fight and ended in 70 seconds and never saw the punch. Unlucky Davey. It's gone, yes. Then fire away with your question, mate.
Yeah, I just wanted to obviously, since we're talking about the heavyweight boxing right now with the AJ Fury thing, I just wanted to ask Jack. Firstly, obviously, we recently saw the Joseph Parker and Joe Joyce fight over the weekend. Firstly, I wanted to get like your assessment on that fight, and what you think is next for Joe Joyce after that win.
Funny enough, the last time I watched your YouTube live, there was a big discussion on the heavyweight thing, and it was about the WBC world title, and it was like, if Fury retires, where does it go? And I said it should go to Joyce versus Parker, but I think Josh didn't agree, and he said that he thought Joyce is boring. Mate, honestly, I don't see anyone beating Joe Joyce minus Tyson Fury, and I could maybe see Deontay Wilder beating him just because of how slow he is, and I think Joyce would get hit by Wilder, and I just don't think I think he could take anyone's power except Wilder's. So maybe minus them two, I don't see anyone else beating Joe Joyce. And I even said I was funny enough. My manager always calls me because he likes to put bets on the big fights, and he was like, "Oh, who have you got for this one?" And I said, "Joe Joyce will stop him between 8 and 10." And I was saying that I can see Parker winning the first 6, but Joyce would just break him down. But that didn't even happen. Joyce just broke him down from the start. And annoyingly, I had a bet in the 10th round, and I thought he was going to do him, and then he just knocked him out in 1 minute into the 11th. So I lost that on somebody there. But mate, I just think he'll do that to anyone, and like I believe that in probably most fights he's going to lose the first half, but the pressure and just like relentlessness of him, he's just going to break everyone down, and he's got the power to stop you as well. He's got like one punch knockout power, and I just can't see him beat. I mean, I just can't see anyone apart from them two beating him, mate. And yeah, and I think it's kind of sad because I think it's sad that he's not got a world title shot yet, because I think he's beaten some credible names, and he's like now become the first ever person to stop Parker, and I can't see him getting a title shot anytime soon, because obviously Fury's probably going to defend against that. Is it Carr or Char? Usyk's probably going to have a fight with someone, and then I'm guessing that them two are going to meet for a unification fight. So I can't see him getting a world title fight for probably another 2 years, and by that time I think he's going to be 39 or 40. So yeah, I feel really sorry for him, but it's just the way it is at the moment, I guess.
No, I will say in fairness, I enjoyed Saturday's fight, and I think I enjoyed his Takan fight as well, in fairness, but I think Joe Joyce might be one of those after seeing on Saturday. The livelier the opponent, the more he'll do, if that makes sense. Like he'll sort of rise to it. And yeah, I will sort of take back. Not that I've criticised him in the past, but sort of just said, about him being a bit boring. But no, I was very impressed with him on Saturday night, and I would agree. I do think, Davey here, Joyce can't be taking hits like that with the elite. His defence is poor. I don't know what you'd think on that, Jack, actually, so I'll get your thoughts first.
Well, this is what I mean. Like, I think he's got the best chin I've ever seen. I've never seen someone take shots like him. And it's not like he's not taking them against big punchers, because Daniel Debra, whether you rate him highly or not, has elite level power. And they just weren't even phasing him. They were just bouncing off of his chin. And but I do agree. That's why I said I think Wilder will probably be the only one that will just spark him, because I think he's got that kind of that scary, like life-threatening power, which a lot of people don't have. So I think Wilder will be the only person that will be able to knock him out. And I think Fury will just be the only person that would be able to take him the distance and just beat him the whole way through without getting broken down. So that's the only reasons I can see them two beating him. But anyone else, I just can't. Like, maybe AJ as well, but I just don't think AJ's got like the minerals to hang in there with him for a 12-round fight. So
no, we have actually got a video planned for later this week on about potential Joyce versus AJ fight. And I've got to be fair, I think I'm agreeing there. I don't think AJ would be able to stick the distance, because I mean Parker can punch. Let's be fair. When He put Dylan White down and, nearly had him out of there in the 12th. Also, although the fight he had with Joshua wasn't the most entertaining, you could see when he did hit Joshua, you could see he respected the power. So, and Joe Joyce, in fairness, there was 4 or 5 shots that I thought Parker landed on Joyce that I said on our reaction to it, I think would have wobbled most heavyweights. And Joyce, he didn't even mark up. It was like he was the bionic man, in fairness. Like, I saw I'm assuming we'll have all seen it post-fight, him and Joe Parker. Parker, you can tell that guy's been in a bit of a brutal fight. Joe Joyce looked like he was just there watching. There were no marks or anything, so fair play. Davey, good point, Jack. There isn't a heavy that probably doesn't hit hard. Wilder would put him out, I think. It'd be interesting, but I think that's what you need, isn't it? That'd be the intriguing point that would sell the fight. Joel Phillip, I think if Wilder can't take him early, I can see Joyce breaking Wilder down in the later rounds. It's a great fight. I'd agree, Joel. I think it's a fight that we definitely want to see. Moving on from heavyweights, Jack, obviously you briefly touched on it there about with the KFC and stuff around Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. I mean, how do you see that fight playing out? Because I'm going to be honest, I really want Conor Benn to win. And I think the weight is I can see, it's a disadvantage in terms of he's going up, but you've also got Eubank Jr. draining himself, below the 160. I mean, so just, how do you see that? How do you see that one playing out?
Yeah, I've been very vocal on this fight since this has been made, but Eubank absolutely obliterates him, in my opinion, and I want Eubank to absolutely obliterate him as well. So I'm happy about that. I don't see it going past 6 rounds. Like, I think Ben may have a round or 2 where he might not even cause him trouble, but might look good and do well. But yeah, I think Eubank absolutely destroys him, and I can't see it going any other way. I think Eubank is just, because he's so arrogant, I think he's very underrated. Like, in my opinion, he's just below world level. Like, and I think he's proven that. I mean, he's won the British, he's won the IBO, so technically he is a world champion anyway. But and when he's fought at world level, I mean, sometimes he has been outclassed, but he's hung in there and always given a good account of himself. So yeah, and I just think, I mean, I've already said it, I just think he obliterates him.
Yeah, but Jack, how do you think Eubank reacts if Ben catches him early?
I don't think he reacts, mate, to be honest. I made a point on this as well. I think Conor Benn can bang a little bit, but his power is pretty much a myth. And if you go on his box rec and look at everyone he's stopped, they've all been stopped over like 50% of the times. It's like 80% of the time they've been stopped every time he stopped them. So his power is a bit of a myth. I would like to see him get in there with a welterweight that's world class and durable. And to be honest, I don't think he'd do very well. But yeah, I just think at middleweight, he's not going to trouble. Well, it's not at middleweight. It's at whatever weight it is.
157, isn't it?
Yeah. I just don't think he's going to trouble Eubank. Eubank's proven that his chin's rock solid. George Groves is potentially one of the hardest hitting super middleweights in the world. Never even looked like he was going to phase Eubank. Eubank's also fought Arthur Abraham, who was a bit of a monster back in the day. Never phased him. Billy Joe can't bang, but I would consider him like an elite level boxer. Never phased him. Gary Spike O'Sullivan, again, not elite level, but he can bang a bit. Never phased him. So I don't see Conor Benn phasing Eubank in the slightest.
No, there's a few comments. Davey, Eubank's never been down as a pro. Very much that Ben can do it. Tidge, yeah, no way is Ben beating Eubank. I will say, as much as I want Conor Benn to win, I am very aware as a Ben fan that, and to be fair, I'm probably more of a Ben fan. It's the family name. I was, some of my early sort of boxing memories are, watching clips of Nigel Benn and stuff. So it's a family name thing. But yeah, he has definitely got an uphill challenge. Jack would make a good pundit, really good at breaking it down. Well, Davey, he does actually have his own YouTube channel that we were talking about a little bit before we went live. So again, I'll drop the link to that. Definitely check that out. There's some really, really, really good interviews on there, Davey. So definitely worth a watch. Right. Well, I'm all done. Yas, anything more from you?
Not really. I can't really think of anything like that. Have the viewers got any questions for Jack?
There we go. Oh. Very knowledgeable, and will debate with the best of them. Yeah, he will. As we say, we've been lucky enough to have Jack on a few times, and definitely a good guy to have on. There you go, Jack. You've got to carry on with it now. You've got another sub there. There you go. And Joel, it's one of those fights that you can tell has been made just because of the Files rivalry. Yeah, I would agree with that. To be fair, Joel, we'll wrap it up there, guys. As I said, Jack, just to finish off, is there any sponsors or anybody that you want to shout out?
Yeah, I should cover all my sponsors that have been amazing over the last since boxing's come back. Forrestal and Son, who sponsored me since literally after COVID, has been incredible to me, and he's actually become a really good friend of mine now. And because of him, I've also met loads of other great friends of mine now through boxing and stuff. Rod, he's just been amazing, mate. He's helped me out so much, and not only does he sponsor me and helps me out, he then goes off and sells about 10, 20 tickets for people to come and watch my fight as well. So he's just incredible. I've also got the same sponsor as Maxi Hughes now as well, Justin, who again it's been amazing. He travels all the way down from, is it Leeds or not Leeds? Yeah, he travels all the way down from Leeds to come and watch me fight, and he's coming to my award ceremony that I've got coming up as well for the fight of the year that me and Paul won, coming all the way down again from Leeds. From that, I've got Guy Davison, who sponsors me for every fight, and he actually pays my wages so I can take it off work and I can train full time. So again, like, Guy is incredible. And a friend that I've had that sponsored me throughout the years, Steve, who I grew up with. He's just, again, another guy that helps me out, helps me sell tickets, brings people down to come support me. So yeah, without them four, I'd be lost without them. And shout out to Pizza Hut, just like they've done there.
If we can get that deal over the line, we're going to need some garlic bread or something as a commission. No, I mean, there we go. Great live again. Thanks for sharing, Jack. Joel also is going to be subscribing, so you do need to keep those interviews coming, Jack. And yeah, guys, thanks ever so much for joining us. Thank you, Jack, for coming on, mate. We can't get this sort of insight anywhere else, so we really appreciate that. And guys, we've got a lot of great content coming this week. So yeah, stay tuned.